Hello and welcome to the next edition of the HP Discover podcast series. I'm Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inter Arbor Solutions, your host and moderator for this ongoing sponsored discussion on IT innovation and how it's making an impact on people's lives. Once again, we're focusing on how companies are adapting to the new style of IT to improve IT performance and deliver better user experiences as well as better business results. Our next innovation case study interview highlights how Zynga in San Francisco is depending on big data analytics to improve how it does its business and provide its gaming services to its customers. To learn more about how big data impacts Zynga in the gaming industry, please join me now in welcoming our guests. We're here with Joanne Ho, a Senior Engineering Manager at Zynga. Welcome, Joanne.
Hi, welcome. I'm good.
Thank you. And also Yuko Yamazaki, the Head of Analytics at Zynga. Welcome, Yuko.
Thank you. Hi.
Let's start with you, Joanne. Tell us a little bit about, what Zynga needs to do with big data in order to improve your business. How important is big data analytics to you as an organization?
Well, to Zynga, big data is very important. It's a main piece of the company. And as a part of the analytics department, big data basically is serving the entire company as a source of understanding our users' behavior, right? Our player, what they like, what they don't like about our games, right? And then we're using this data to analyze and analyzing users' behavior. And then we also will personalize a lot of different game models so then it fits the user's player pattern. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, what's interesting to me about games is that people will download them and they're also upgradable and they're changeable. People can move so that the feedback loop between the inferences and information and analysis you gain and then what you can do with it is rather compressed compared to many other industries. What is it that you're able to do in this rapid fire development and release? How is that responsiveness important to you?
Yeah, I think real-time analyzation, of course, is critical. And we have our streaming system that can do it. So then we have our monitoring and alerting system that can alert us whenever we see any drops in, let's say, users' install rate dropped or any DAU dropped. Game Studio will be alerted, and then we'll take appropriate action to that.
And Yuko, what sort of data sets are we talking about? If we're going into the social realm, we can get some very large data sets, or you might have actual data that's coming directly from your apps. So what's the volume and scale we're talking about here?
Yeah, we got data of everything that happens in our game. So almost every single click gets dragged into our system. It's talking about 40 billion to 60 billion rows a day. And that's the data that our game product managers and development engineers decide what they want to analyze later. So it's already being structured, compressed, and comes into our database.
Well, that's a very impressive scale. Is there a visualization approach? I mean, it's one thing to have a lot of data. It's another to be able to make that actionable. What do you do once that data is assembled and you've got the analysis underway?
Yeah, so the biggest success story that I normally tell about Zynga is we make data available to all employees. So as soon as on day one you join Zynga, you get to see all the data through our visualization tool that we have. And you get to see, even if you're in Farmville product manager, you get to see what poker is doing, make it more transparent. And then any data that you log, there's a count report that you can just click and take a look and see how many people have done this particular game action, for example. So yeah, that's sort of how we were able to create this data-driven culture for Zynga.
And Zynga is not all that old. Is this something that you've had right from the start, this data capability, or did you come into it over time? I suppose the question is how early on in your organization did this data imperative become clear?
Yeah, poker, I think this is the 5th year anniversary for Poker and Words with Friends. Our analytics has been since 5 years ago. So, but our cluster scaled, I think, 70 times since then. So it
We
started
started
off.
from 3 nodes, and then we grow to now we're having 230 node clusters. Yeah.
So you are performing the gathering of the data and analysis in your own data centers, is that correct?
That's right.
Yes.
All right. When you realized the scale and the nature of your task, what were some of the top requirements you had for your cluster, your database, your analytics engine? How did you make some technology choices?
So 5 years ago, when Zynga was growing, our main focus was to build something that's going to be able to scale, and it's going to be able to provide the data as fast as possible. So those are the two biggest points that we had in mind when we decided to create our analytics infrastructure.
Any other more detailed requirements in terms of the type of database or the type of analytics engine?
Those are the two big ones, and we wanted to have, like I mentioned, we wanted to have everyone be able to access the data. So SQL would have been a great technology to have. So it's easy to hire analysts. It's easy to train PMs instead of, engineering side, for example, like MapReduce for Hadoop. So we wanted, so those are the three big key points as we selected our database. Yeah.
Being here at the HP Big Data Conference, what is it about what you're hearing from HP that's of interest? Is there future directions and requirements that you have? Are there things that you'd like to see from HP in order to continue to be able to do what you do at increasing scale?
I think one thing that we're interested in is the real-time analytics. Sounds like in version 7.1, there will be a functions aggregated projection that we're interested in trying. And also the flex table is another, sounds very interesting features that we also will attempt to try it out. And cloud analytics as a third one that we're also interested in, and hope HP will have a good development and get it mature so that we can also test it out in the future.
And so while your analytics has been with you right from the start, how long have you been using Vertica for managing some of these analytics?
We have Vertica for 5 years already. Yeah.
So you're very early in the Vertica ecosystem.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we've determined how important it is. Do we have any metrics of what this is able to do for you? So for other organizations, it might be saying, wow, we don't have as much of a data-driven culture as Zynga, but we'd like to. And we realize that the technology can now ramp up to such incredible volume and velocity. What do you get back? How do you measure the success when you do big data analytics right or correctly?
So internally, we look at adoption of systems. So we have 2,000 employees, almost all of them, or 1,000 at least, of employees are using our visualization tool on a daily basis. So there's a way to measure adoption of our systems internally. Externally, the biggest metric we always look at is retention. Are players coming back? And if so, was that through the data that we collect? Were we able to do personalization so that they are coming back because of the experience they've had?
But these are very important to your business, obviously. And it's curious about that buy-in. You can, as the saying goes, lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. You can provide data and analysis and visualization to their employees, but if they don't find it useful or impactful, they won't use it. So that's interesting that that's a key performance indicator for you. Okay, any words of advice for other organizations, again, who are trying to become more data-driven, to use analytics more strategically? Is this about people, process, culture, technology, all the above? What advice might you have for those seeking to better avail themselves of big data analytics?
I guess a couple things. One is to provide end-to-end. So not just data storage, but also visualization, and also to have we have an experimentation system where I think we have about 400 to 600 experiments running as we speak. And we have a report that shows you run this experiment and all these metrics have been moved because of your experiment, and A is better than B for this particular metric, right? So by showing that, they're able to say, okay, that's amazing. We're going to run this other experiment, and there's a visualization you can use to see that data, for example. So it's, I think, providing the end-to-end data and analytics to all employees, I would say, is one of the biggest advice I would provide to any companies. Yeah.
That's great. Anything more to offer, Joanne, on that advice?
No.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine.
I think, if anything, one more thing is try to get one good win. I think if you focus too much on technology, if you focus too much on scalability, you might be, building a battleship when you actually don't need it yet. Right? I think it's incremental improvement is probably going to take you to a place you need to get to. Try to get a good big win of, increasing installs or daily active users in one particular game or product, and see where it goes.
Okay. And just to revisit that idea that you've got so many employees and so many innovations going on, how do you encourage your users to interact with the data? And do you give them total flexibility in terms of experiments, and how do they start the process of some of those proof of concept type of activities?
Users, you mean employees?
Yeah, employees.
Okay. Yeah, so all freestyle. Yeah, they can log whatever they want, they can see whatever they want, except revenue sort of data, but they can create any experiments they want. We also do, her team owns this part, but we also make the data available in summer games can hit real time. So we can do a real time personalization using the data that you logged. So it's almost 360 degrees of the data availability to our product teams. Yeah.
Well, it's really impressive that there's so much of this data mentality ingrained in the company, one from the start and also across all the employees. So that's very interesting. How do you see that in terms of your competitive edge? Do you think the other gaming companies are doing the same thing? Do you have an advantage by the way that you've created a data culture?
Yeah, I believe, so I was at the online gaming panel. I was one of the panelists, but definitely online gaming, you have to have big data to succeed. A lot of companies, though, I believe, are just getting whatever they can, then structure and make it analyzable. One of the things that we've done that did well to start with was to make it structured to start with. So the data is already structured. PMs, product managers are already thinking about what they want to analyze beforehand. So it's not like let's just get everything in and then see what happens. It's they think right away about, is this analyzable? Is this something we want to store? So we are a lot smarter about what we want to store. So cost-wise, it's a lot more optimized.
Great. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. We've been hearing about how Zynga in San Francisco has, right from its inception, created a very strong culture around big data and grabs as much as they can from the volumes I hear, and then makes the results of that data acquisition available across the board to its employees. So I'd like to thank our guests. We've been joined by Joanne Ho, Senior Engineering Manager at Zynga. Thank you, Joanne.
You're welcome.
And also Yuko Yamazaki, Head of Analytics at Zynga. Thank you, Yuko.
Thank you.
And a big thank you to our audience as well for joining us for this special new style of IT discussion. I'm Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inter Arbor Solutions, your host for this ongoing series of HP-sponsored discussions. Thanks again for listening, and come back next time.